welcome to LIGHTBOB TV. Today is Friday, episode 9. That means that this is the last episode from Friday. There will be two more episodes of episode 9 because Wednesday and Thursday I wasn't there last week, and so we're going to continue next week. But for this is the finality, and also yeah, it's been for me a really awesome series because for the first time I got to do something that I was not too comfortable with, and it shows sometimes, but also I learned a lot. And I had to apply what I learned so that I would have a better understanding of it, because just reading about it, just watching video, it's one thing, but when you start applying it, your knowledge goes up. And also it confirms some stuff that I always knew, but I didn't, and I was doing naturally, but I didn't know the theory behind. So, and I hope it did the same thing for you. If you look the whole series of circadian, you'll see that it is bit by bit by bit, and we build upon all these little golden nuggets, and we build this base of knowledge that we can apply, and is very hands-on and practical. And also the other thing is that once you go to a seminar or a conference, or you're going to watch something online, you'll have a better idea for yourself where these people that are in front of you come from, and what level of knowledge do they have, how they can help you, how valid is their research or their implication into circadian lighting. So today my episode is dedicated to the market, and I wanted to project myself in the future and think about what the circadian lighting market would be tomorrow, right? So what in the future, how does it going to work, and also who are the different actors that are going to help us to get there? Because this is the other thing, is that we want to make sure that we are going there in the right path. So far we have moved from the source to the fixtures to the manufacturing design yesterday. Well, and then today is back and look at the whole segment of the market. What's all around this, and what is helping really? What is the good stuff that we need to know, and also where can we take this to the next level? Um, I have the superpower of knowing that I don't know everything. I know what I know, and I'm really good at what I know. And what I don't know, well, the beauty of it is that I'm willing to learn. And today I got an email from an associate that's working in the media, and he was telling you, Bob, you're addressing, people that work from home. But I think, and I had to reply and explain to him, whenever I present something, I like to present the context. And I like also to create a momentum that we can build on, because if we don't experience it for ourselves, if we don't have the truth for ourselves, how can we sell it to our client? How can we recommend it to our client? How can we be sure that what we're recommending is good for them? Can we be sure that it will have an impact on their business? How can we be sure that all of those things that we're talking about are going to happen? And that's why whenever I start a project, I like to start from the basic. Yesterday, I was driving my son to his gaming. Well, he's the captain of a gaming team, whatever, esports team, and I had a flash. I said, okay, now I know exactly what my next book is going to be, right? Because part of it is that you have I had an idea to write a book. And I didn't want to write a big book. I just wanted to write the basic, because in all this mumbo jumbo, people forgot that we have two type of source. We have directional, we have general diffuse. And everything else are either fixtures or interpretation or workaround or. And once we go back to the basic and we understand this and we learn how to use them, and now in the context of being, like circadian lighting, now we can build, I can start and educate people on read the first book and apply the second book. Read the first book, apply the second book. And the third book and fourth, five, I had them in a lineup, but it didn't make any sense, and I didn't have the click to do it. They're written, but I didn't feel that was the right order to publish them. So now, last night when I had my little moment, I realized that, okay, well, my next book's going to be about circadian lighting, the fundamental, everything we went through, put in a little book so that we can, start to build for ourselves again. And then once we have a certainty, once we have an experience for ourselves, then it's super easy to go out and and tell the good news, apply it to any kind of project, residential, commercial, industrial, office space. I mean, name it, hospitality. It's a walk in the park, because the fundamentals are grasped. We understand the fundamental. We also understand the benefits that it brings to the body and to ourselves. So that's where I come from, and this is where I'm going. And today's episode was, okay, now let's think in the future and how are we going to make this happen? And what do we need? And who do we need? And how does all this is going to work, right? Because as you saw, the market is all forming around and gravitating around any subject that we have. That we have IoT, Internet of Things, that we have power over Ethernet, that we have lighting control, that we have circadian, that we have, lighting for elderly. All of this is a segment of the market, and at some point there will be other thing gravitating, and depending on the validity, it will pick up or it will die. And that's why when I started to look and think about circadian, what really touched me and really got into me was the fact that for the first time we have a technology that can help our body, that can help regenerate cells, that can reduce stress. And we're all talking about miracle, cure to stay old, to live to 120. Well, if we also start to apply the right technology in our environment, because we either that we are home or we're in the office or we're traveling or we are no matter where, the technology has a huge impact on us. The technology is part of our life. There's no longer like, one telephone for the whole village. I think there's more telephone on the planet there is people. So that tells you a lot on the technology. Now, lighting having this impact on the body is an important hat. And for me, being in the industry for 4 decades, I never realized that. And for me, it is new, relatively new. But it doesn't mean that I'm just going to let it slide. I decide that would be the segment that I would work on, and also I know that this is not a trend, because in the future, no matter where we want to live, let's say we live out of space, let's say we live on another planet, let's say we travel more, let's say we don't travel, we live in a basement. because there's been a disaster. Whatever there is, we will need lighting, and we will need to have the maximum, gain from it at a biological level. Because let's say the life change that we have right now, well, guess what? You need to have this contribution, because there will be some other pieces that are going to be missing. I don't know if it makes any sense, but for me it does. So now we talked about, like the overview market, um, and and also what is driving this market, right? So as I said, wellness is a big driver of this, circadian lighting, because more and more that people are aware of wellness, the more and more they're looking for solution. And when you start looking for solution, and the solutions are not readily available, you're kind of quit, you kind of forget about it, and you kind of go to other, so and so solution, which at some point are not doing anything except wasting your money. Second thing is that more and more we have these come back to the workplace, right? More and more companies are asking their people to come back. Now they're asking to come back, and then they're asking them to be more performant. Well, like I told you, uh, lifespan of an office remodeling is 5 to 7 years, and people will want to start having their workspace more performing. Well, their workspace employee more performing, hence they're going to have better condition for them. As I was saying, the aging population is also one of the biggest demand. Why? Because the baby boomers are there. I'm one of them, and it's mind-boggling what I look and what I see people spending money on just to try to stay younger. And most of it is exterior to them, is gym, is this and that, and bang, 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 without counting the drugs. And not much of them are to enhance their body naturally. So, and the good thing is that, I live in Florida. I decided a long time ago, this is where I want to grow old. I want to be in the ocean. I want to have the vibe of the ocean. I want to have the salt water. I want to have this and that. And I'm tired of fighting with winter. All of that is nice. But some people are not in Florida. Some people don't have this luxury, or they don't have, I will not call it the luxury. I will call it the motivation, right? Because that's all it takes. If you motivate, you can make anything happen. But if you're not, well, you're going to have some, maybe you'll travel more, maybe you'll go to places, but you're still going to have the need to enhance your body. You're still going to need those tools. So coming home and having a circadian lighting system will enhance your body. Speaking of traveling, we talked also about hospitality. Hospitality, it's an explosion of opportunity and an array of different ways to enhance and travel and to live, either on ships, on different countries, on locally. You can do local cruise, you can do international cruise, you can do 6 months cruise. You can travel to anywhere. So there is a big demand for hospitality. And beside having a circus show, and beside having great entertainment and great food, well, guess what? You need to be cutting edge. You need to bring something new. You need to bring something that will differentiate you from the resort next door. Because there's so many resorts you can go, they're all the same. Now you want to try maybe something else. So that's where circadian lighting comes in and can help you, or help your body, or help your client to enhance and have more booking. So as you see, the market evolution went from energy efficiency, right? Because when we had the big, and we're still in energy crisis with water, with fuel, with all that stuff, but I think the LED handled a pretty big chunk of that. So now what's the next step? What's the next trend? What's the next vision? Well, we're talking about energy efficiency, and our next trend is human performance. So we have these buildings that are super performing. Now, how can this help the people inside to be more performing, right? And who's going to be winning? Because we're like, and this is where the truth comes out, okay? Because I can be honest and I can take my part of responsibility. I always thought that circadian lighting would be done by tree huggers, right? Tree huggers, the people that hug tree. And that's for me was like, oh, they can handle this, they can do this. I'm more into design, and then I look at the result, and the tree huggers are busy doing more research and finding more stuff, and they're not doing the application. They're not salespeople. They're not design. They're not influencer. They're really good at what they do, but they're not going to do the job. They're not going to start integrating system. They'll tell you their research. They'll tell you what product. They'll tell you their findings. And I mean, I never found so much data on the internet about circadian lighting. What I didn't find is people that have the ability to walk into a space and say, here's what you need. Here's the programming. We need some general diffuse there. We need some directional there. We need some general diffuse at this level. We need some directional at that level. We need a control system that can take, that's going to wave the lights. And we also need some color changing technology. And we need that kind of wiring. And we need low voltage. And we need a controller. And we need sensor there, and there. Very, very, very few people have this ability. Very few. And most of them are super busy. Why? I'm trying to reach them and I can't. Why? Because there's so much demand. There's so much opportunity that just doing this integration, taking these findings, making it available so that people understand it. And when I talk about people, I talk about professional engineers, architects, because there's no use to start going into a calculation war. There's no use to be going into, a smart contest. We need to work together. We need to help them to help their clients, and as fast as possible, so that all the ecosystem that I've been talking about, the source, the fixtures, the design, the manufacturers, all those evolve faster. Because right now they are evolving and they're trying to catch up, but the market is not supplying, is not pushing for that. So by helping the manufacturer develop complete building system, by helping source manufacturer to have smarter source that integrate all this technology, so that fixture manufacturer can make smarter fixtures, we are helping the cycle. We helping the market to grow. Developers are also left aside, because and it's very easy to understand. Developers work for their pocket. And no one can show them yet what's in it for them. Because if I'm going to pay a premium for a circadian lighting system, what is it going to give to me? And unfortunately, they're right. They are right. because it might cost more. It might cost break even, but what's in it for them? And that hasn't been done clearly. I mean, I read probably 10, 12 case study per week, and I'm like, it's very nice, but if I look at this from a developer viewpoint, it's very hard for me to have to justify that. So again, it's working hands in hands, working towards one common goal, and then also working as hard as we can, as fast as we can. Who are the losers? Well, people that won't get into that wave of circadian and that are going to do, you know, commodity fixtures. They're going to still do static fixtures that are going to be missing the boat. I mean, with time, they will catch up probably, and they will do knockoff and all of that. But right now, the spotlight is not on them. And also, people that haven't, when I say people, professional, that haven't evolved in their spec-driven design approach. People that rely on other people to do their spec without looking at them, or without understanding where they're giving, where to put their attention, where to put the details, how to explain it and present it. So those people are going to lose. And of course, those the people that come in at the late stage of the scope, at the end, and they say, oh yeah, what about the lighting? Oh yeah, we want to have what's that new thing, circadian? We want to have that. Go on Amazon and make it circadian. Yeah, right. Those late people will miss the boat too, because they will never be able to have the same result as the one that are going to put the effort and put the time and put the energy to convince and work with professional, their clients, supplier, manufacturers, etc. So lighting is moving from a cost center, like I remember when I start, my boss would come to me and he'd say, well, we have a $200,000 envelope. So that was, and make it work. This is the plan. Just find me some equivalency. I mean, that was the trend, and that was the market at that time. I'm talking about 40 years ago. Over the time, we had tight spec. We had people manufacturing doing their spec. Everybody wants you to register your spec with them, and this and that. More and more, what's going to happen is now people are going to say, well, what's the value? So we're going to be looking at value driver, not only as far as dollar, but what else does it bring? How is it integrated, right? So our market had evolved, and in the future, that's what's going to happen. The industry is going to say, okay, we got it. This is the lighting package, but what is that lighting package does? Because it's no longer taking a 50 watt par 38 and replacing it with another 50 watt par 38 from a lower end manufacturer. No, now we have something that we want to achieve to a very specific programming, and if it doesn't deliver that programming, you're not even in the race. So more and more we're going to look into the industry, how important the organization is going to shape the industry. What kind of designer are you working with? Are they part of the International Association of Lighting Designer? Do they focus on design excellence and professional recognition? Are they member of the Illuminating Engineering Society? Do they part of technical standard and education and recommend practice? Are they, the International Commission of Illumination? Are they part of a scientific group? Are they working on global projects, metrics, photometrics? So the industry, as it grows up, all those credentials were nice to have, and they were nice uh, to study. I mean, I probably ran about a dozen people to their LC certification. I had study groups. I did counseling. I did phone meetup, Zoom. I mean, name it, over my career. And like, I've been member probably of different, maybe 12, 15 different lighting association, locally, internationally, in all the field, motion pictures, TV, uh, you know, uh, manufacturing, lighting design, engineering, research, name it. I did it all, and I'm not done. I still do it. I'm still in embracing it and pushing it and helping people to reach these levels for their career. At my stage, I don't need it, I, because I'm more on the lower side than on the upper side. But I see in the future, now we start to have a very, very good demand about it, because as a professional, when you're an architect, you need to be registered. When you're an interior designer, you need to be registered, and you cannot practice if you don't have your professional affiliation. When you're an engineer, same thing. So lighting designers, as they grow on their knowledge base and also on their competency and also on their impact on the human body. And I have to tell you a little anecdote on that, because in the 90s, when I start my master degree, one of my teacher told me a thing that totally shocked me. He told the whole class, he said, "You guys want to be lighting designer?" Yes, we raise our hand. "You guys want to practice all over the world?" Yes, we raise our hand. "You guys want to be, having your own firm?" Yes, we raise our hand. He said, "Okay, the first thing you need," and everybody's like, "What would that be?" "Well, we need an office. We need a business card. We need this." No. He said, "The first thing you need is a good lawyer." And I was stunned. I'm like, "What? Why do we need a good lawyer?" He said, "Because when something goes bad, everybody gets sued, and normally the lighting designer is responsible." And then this course was called professional practice. And then for the rest of the semester, he taught us how to avoid being sued, avoid taking any responsibility on any lighting design we do. We don't have a responsibility for performance. We don't have a responsibility. And till today, engineers do all the calculation, electricians do all the connection. Lighting designers were there because we gonna make it look pretty, and we're gonna try to make it. So this, in the future, for me, and I'm telling you, 40 years ago, and it has at least evolved. At least we have some certification going. At least we have some very solid base that we can start building a profession around. I see that the lighting designer is going to have to take their control, control of lighting, leave the electrical and the load to the engineer, but start working on the effect they're causing on people. And I think circadian lighting is the tip of the iceberg and will help that kind of, you know, of responsibility, because that will be something that you'll be able to measure. And that's just me, right? So let's go back to the certification, and what does it give people to be part of those associations? First, you got some credential, right? You're providing some structure. You got some different level. It blows my mind when I see a senior lighting designer with 5 years of experience. There is, in I come from the world of construction. I'm an electrician. I've been in since 1982. And for 5 years, 4 years, I had to be an apprentice. And then I became a journeyman. And then I became a master once I had the test that I could run a company and that I could have my own electrical outfit. I would be called a master. Now, in lighting design, it blows my mind. I look at job offer, master lighting, senior lighting designer, 3 years, 4 years of experience. An average project that I worked on is minimum the 3 to 5 years. So how many projects can you do in 3 to 5 years simultaneously that will give you that recognition? I mean, and people work less and less. I mean, I used to work 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day. I would work in planes. I would work in everywhere. It is not real for me. So we're going to have a better classification, right? The other thing is that when you start, you may not have the right strategy. And that's the thing. I ended up doing a master degree in lighting design because I went to apply for a job to work for a lighting designer. And they said, Bob, you have an amazing experience in electrical and connection and theater lighting, but you don't know nothing about lighting design. And being who I am, I didn't take no for an answer. I said, okay, tell me where I need to go. And I ended up in a master degree at Parson, 2 years. And the second year, well, actually, the second semester, I learned that computers were coming in and AutoCAD and all that stuff. So I asked my mentor, and I borrowed some money to buy a $35,000 computer so I can learn the new upcoming trends with my own computer. So I had my own computer, my own printer, I had video card and all that good stuff, my own software. And then when I went back after 2 years to get an hire, the owner said, okay, here's your desk and here's your paper and here's your pen. And I said, I'm sorry, what did you say? Pen? I don't work with pen. I work with computers. I can bring my computer. He said, oh, no, we don't do this here. So I said, okay, thank you. I thanked him for the opportunity, packed my stuff, went back home and start my own firm. And never looked back since. I joined a couple group. I worked with other company, and it was always the same thing. Like they couldn't catch up, and they couldn't get all the outflow I was doing and everywhere I was, and that my job was done. I was literally living in the office, and all of that is a good thing for me because my career went vertical. But for them, when I look at them, I look at their project. Because I travel a lot. I had a chance to look at some of the project that I would have worked on, and I looked the result, and I felt sad. I felt sad that they couldn't embrace this, and they didn't push, and they didn't go to where they could have been. So the industry has to catch up too. Not only the people, the industry people. So when we're talking about circadian, what I see is that I see the future, like designers, architect, manufacturer, control integrator, unifying their force and pushing in one direction so that you can address these lack and work together to resolve the problem. A lot of people are talking about lighting, and this is the funniest thing. when I arrived here in Florida, I talk to people. Oh yeah, I know lighting. Okay, what do you know? And then first thing I know is that they're salespeople, and they're selling what the manufacturer that tell them to sell, and their create level is about this big. So people like us that are pushing the boundary, designer, architect, engineers, and want to have custom stuff. They want to have something that's never been done before. Push the technology, make sure that there's something that's gonna differentiate them. Our dinosaur. So in the future, what I want to see, and I think what should happen is that this rekindling with creativity, and people won't have to worry about too much about the technology. I am a very high, or I would say a power user of AI. And it's funny because I'm part of several development group, and yet I haven't found a way to use AI in making plan for with circadian lighting. I haven't found in my head the formula, because if it's not in my head, the computer is not going to find it for me. So I got to have it, the idea first, and define the program that I'm going to introduce to the AI so that I can have the machine start thinking with it and be responsible also. Because that's the other part. We can do a lot of things, but if we don't take the responsibility, what's going to happen? As far as market, I mean, in the future, we'll never run out of market because we have the retrofit market. Every 7 to 10 years, we have hospitality, we have office, we have workspace transformation, we have residential, luxury, customization. We have bigger and bigger residential project. I mean, there is a lot of potential. What younger generation of lighting designer need to learn is system, not just the fixture, but the system, how everything work together, how the control and the behavior of people work together. And what I'm observing is that new generation are communicating less and less. So this is something that I would love to see expand, is more communication, and not in a confrontal way, just in a very casual way, to understand what's happening between the different generation without putting labels or all kinds of limitation. Because the biggest thing I see is that they're losing so much opportunity because they're not trying. And I have different generation in my surrounding, and I'm still teaching at college and to younger generation, and I can see that. We would have a full-on conversation, and an hour after we're done, while I'm on my way home, I receive a text. Well, I didn't say it, but this and that and this and that. And I'm like, wow, could be so much easier if we were there. Plus, the communication with the phone is not working. This is not what I meant. This is not what I'm saying. I rarely answer to that kind of communication on my phone because it never ends well. What I'll do is tomorrow, I'll go see them and I'll say, what did you mean by that? And then let me explain to you how I read this. And then how can we work together? And when can we push? So suppliers, younger generation, like the future is excuse the pun intended, super bright. We just have to embrace it, make little efforts to learn a little bit more, and try to contribute to the motion so that we are part of it. Because once you're part of it, you can take ownership. And once you take ownership, that's it. Like nobody's going to take it away, because now you're going to make it your own, and you're going to have your own formula to communicate with your clients and push and push and push. So, yeah, source is where it's beginning. Then we have our fixtures. It's how we deliver, right? Manufacture is how it's built. Design is how we experience it. And what we're talking about is how we're creating the value. Hope this was a good series. I hope you learn a few things, and I hope you share my passion. And I want to hear from it. You can send me a direct message. You can send me emails. You can send me texts. I'm available on all kinds of social media. This is my website. Feel free to contact me on the phone. Any which way. I'm always available for coffee if you're in the Tampa Bay area. And yeah, thank you for joining me. And I have something very special for next week that we're going to start looking